Let's talk about the trade deadline, guys, because things are happening. Not actually happening moves-wise, but people are starting to murmur. Is this whole thing with the Tigers, is it real? Is it not? Well, according to John Morosi right now, guys, he's saying that the Detroit Tigers have scouts or a scout that has gone to watch the AAA Norfolk Tides. That's the AAA team of the Baltimore Orioles, for those that are wondering or are not sure. So it makes you think right now. They got a lot of players down there. They got Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo. They got Kyle Stowers, Chase McDermott. Really, they got a lot of talent, or Connor Norby. The list goes on and on. So, guys, I don't really know what to exactly make of it. We just had Jim Duquette on this, and we heard it last time. He said, if you're the Tigers, you got to get one of those quote-unquote untouchable players from the Orioles, being Kobe Mayo, Sam Basayo, or Jackson Holliday. He said the one that he would not trade under any circumstances, Jackson Holliday, who had a monster game the other day as he was welcomed back into playing in the field. For those that forgot, he's been dealing with an elbow injury, so he was limited to a DH role. So are you guys changing your thoughts here? Because the decision or discussion is going to continue to go. If you're going to go for a starter, is it overspend? And it's wrong to say overspend, but give up. You're going to have to give up quite a bit to get Skubal. He is the best pitcher in baseball right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Corbin Burns, Skubal, they're arguably the top three pitchers. They're in the top three category right now. What would you guys want to see at this point in time? Are you guys leaning for the fact that you would want to see Skubal in a Baltimore Orioles jersey, or is that something that you wouldn't be able to stomach?
I don't see it happening. I just don't think. I think the Orioles aren't going to give up what the Tigers want, and the Tigers aren't going to bring down their price. And I think, obviously something can happen. Teams get desperate as the trade deadline approaches. The offer on the table right now is not going to be the same offer that's on the table at $350 in 8 days. So I just don't see it happening, because I think the Tigers want Jackson Holliday, and I think that's a non-negotiable for the Orioles. I don't see them moving from Jackson Holliday, especially when you think about at second base, there is a hole on the roster actively. There is, if you want to look at the roster and say, where is there a spot that we could put guys and try to fit in another bat into the lineup, especially with Jorge Mateo kind of regressing over the past month, there's the spot is second base. Now you can argue, move Westberg over to second, put Mayo at third. We've seen him have struggles defensively. So I think Jackson Holliday is too much of an asset, not only for the future, but he could even help you right now. So I don't see them moving away from him.
Yeah, and so one thing I want to point out with that, if you're saying Jackson Holliday, there's reports now coming out here about, I know.
I wasn't going to say it, but thank you, Ramy.
I think, was that even about this? Of course, you can't, we have a very humble group, Zach, so I'm glad you're very humble about your takes. But what I was trying to say was that there is reports now coming out that the Yankees would be willing to move one of their top chips, and that is Spencer Jones, a guy that they are very touted, that they love, because they would, quote unquote, go more all in for a top tier pitcher, position player. Specifically, we're going to guess it's pitcher, right? So we're going to hit on some other topics of that in a moment, some other trade talks. But make no mistake, it's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost somebody. Would one of you guys rather, and this is kind of where I'm in this boat, we talked before the show, Zach and Kevin and Rock and Brad, Eric Fetty has an ERA below 3. And I know he's not a sexy name for people, former roommate of Ryan Ripken, by the way, but why am I crazy to think that we need to find this year's Jordan Montgomery and not maybe sell off the farm? Because that's kind of how I feel. I think that the asking price for the Tigers, I don't know who wants to go. Put up your hand who wants to go next. Brad, you want to go?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be willing to make the move. Clearly, we know if you get Skubal, you know what you have, but there is some injury concern behind it.
It's fun to fantasize about having these ridiculous elite arms on a team that is in contention, but that's just it, Rip. I mean, it's fun as a fan, but I think that from a hey, let's think about this with reason standpoint, the O's are in first place. There isn't much that they have to do to actually make a legitimate run to the World Series and win, by the way. I mean, the offense is absolutely insane. I mean, yeah, they've been a little bit streaky, but that's just baseball. The arm talent that the Orioles have right now, that ball club has right now, is good enough. There are weaknesses, but every team has them. I mean, we look at the Rangers' insane run last year. They weren't a perfect team, and they still ended up winning a World Series. So to your point, I think that they do still need to make some moves, but I don't think they need to make a move to actually get rid of some ridiculous talent that is down there in AAA Norfolk, and even like a Sam Basayo, to go after somebody like Skubal. It doesn't make sense to me. If I'm the Yankees, probably going to have to sell the farm because they got nothing. They have no depth. They're the ones that are going to have to really go all in to try to win this year because they don't have like a backup plan at this point. I would say that the O's do, and the amount of depth that they have is enough to make a decent trade to bolster the bullpen and maybe get a starter. But I don't think they have to go after some crazy all-star type caliber pitcher.
Well, I think where we just figured out who won the World Series last year, the Texas Rangers. They go, well, Ryan, they made moves. Max Scherzer was hurt for the majority of that run.
Yes, he was.
And the guy that made the move, or that was the X factor, was a pitcher that people liked but didn't think that he was going to end up being the guy.
Evaldi.
And Evaldi could Evaldi's got playoffs written all over him. Zach, I see you brewing over there.
Kind of going back real quick to when you were talking about Spencer Jones, and we've seen the Yankees in these trade talk rumors, and Yankees apparently are up in the air on whether or not they would include a Spencer Jones in this trade. And it's like, okay, it would take Spencer Jones to make a big trade. Spencer Jones is the 73rd best prospect in baseball. I want that out there. The Orioles top 3 right now that are in the top 100 because Kjerstad just graduated. You have Jackson Holiday, number 1, Samuel Basayo, number 2, Kobe Mayo, 15. That's a lot different than number 73. So like,
yeah,
I don't see how it's necessary to give up one of those top 3 and the Kjerstad, because the competition, if you're competing with the Yankees in a, trying to outduel them, unless they bring up Jason Dominguez, who's 25th in the pipeline right now, unless he starts getting his name thrown in a trade, there's no reason to touch your top 3.